Welcome to Mean Age Daydream with me, Brian McWilliams, where we're going to be making some jokes, laughing out at broken world, but also laying out some philosophy for the future, how we can fix this mess we're in and have a great time doing it all with a Mean Age Daydream.
What's up, buttercups? Welcome to Mean Age Daydream with me, your host, Brian McWilliams. A little stutter starting the show today. Oops. Very odd because, I don't know. My computer, I traveled with it. I brought it back. I set it up. I don't know. Hopefully everything works fine. Hopefully I didn't boop any buttons. Boop right in your nose. Anyway, welcome to the show, guys. It's a wonderful day. It is an incredible day. I am never I don't think, prouder in my life of being a libertarian more than I am today. You can see I've got my sweet ass libertarian hat on as, of course, a member of the Libertarian Party and a member of the committee as Director of Communications. The good news is that after a wait of, yes, haters, over 24 hours, Ross Ulbricht has been freed. Now, this is a very, very important happening. This is a very, very important moment for the Libertarian Party. And I'm going to break that down as we go. And hopefully, again, I'm hoping this feed isn't getting fucked up right now, but we'll see. But I'll break down exactly why that's so important. But it was fascinating, right? In my position here, Director of Communications for the party, talking internally, Donald Trump came to our convention and made a promise to the Libertarian Party, to our membership. And this is based upon, right? He made a promise to free Ross Ulbricht, and that was based upon specifically a request by the Libertarian Party, by Angela McArdle, our chair, who had been in touch with the Trump campaign and knew that Donald Trump was, in fact, trying to court libertarian votes because he knew this race was going to be tight. And, even though it was a blowout as far as the Electoral College, came down to some key states. And look, I'm not going to lie to you and say that libertarians threw it in his favor, but I'll tell you what, when it comes down to states where you have a very small margin of victory, libertarian votes just may have pushed Trump over the edge. He may have pushed him to the point where those states went one way or another. And not only that, but let's not forget that the media coverage around Donald Trump courting libertarians, the promises he made about reining in the war state, about trying to rein in, look at this. Even right now, he's talking about abolishing the IRS and replacing it with either consumption tax or tariffs, etc. I mean, I said this before during the convention. I said this on live television from the convention on several times when Angela couldn't field these interviews. What people don't recognize is that libertarian philosophy, libertarian thinking is one thing. Libertarian feeling, libertarian instincts, the feeling of looking around and saying, this world has gotten fucked up. The government has gotten too powerful. The censorship is too much. The nonsense they push through, the regulations, the red tape, the getting in the way of business, of getting in the way of life, of making everything more expensive through inflation and fighting wars all the time that have nothing to do with us. That is a feeling within our culture that has now become so pronounced that it's not that the Libertarian Party has moved one way or the other. And you're going to have people that are haters, that are idiots, that are imbeciles, try to argue and say that the party has somehow moved to the right. No, the party has not moved to the right. The party has maintained, and if anything, stayed stronger to its principles than ever. America has come to us. One could argue that America has always been with us, should always have been with us. And it got away from that, right? Because of incentives, because of government handouts, because of mass media and corporate media narrative control, because of social media control. That's been broken. America is coming to us. Donald Trump recognized that, as did RFK. That's why he came, because he knew that speaking to libertarians is not just talking to a small minority anymore, it's talking to the majority. So he comes, and we had done a poll on our website saying, at lp.org, saying, what's the number one issue that you want? If we're going to have Donald Trump come at our convention and speak, and we want to demand one thing from him, what is that one thing? Ross Ulbricht was that one thing. For those of you who don't know who Ross Ulbricht is, which I was having conversations with former Lion of Liberty, Mark Claire, back and forth, and also other people online who said, no one cares who Ross Ulbricht is. No one knows who he is. No one cares. Well, guess what? A lot of people know who he is, and especially now, because Every mainstream media outlet has covered this. They continue to cover it. They're doing more coverage. I'm texting with people right now. The Associated Press I was emailing with this morning to do another story as they dig into Ross Ulbricht. Ross Ulbricht is a name everyone knows now. And the more they look into it, the more they can see why. Because these stories tell why we wanted to fight for it. Because it is free markets. Because you cannot, as a government, because you're afraid, because your dick is crawling up into your giant, bloated, massive body, go after a man and politically persecute him, which is what they did to Ross Ulbricht. Because he created a website where people can trade goods. That's it. That's all he did. But because people would use that website and use Tor, which is, a back end, kind of difficult platform to use. And honestly, I think it was a government psyop from the beginning, if we're being perfectly honest, Tor. But because people were able to go in there and utilize consensual interactions between adults, the government got pissed off. Because this was in more of the wild, wild west days of the internet, let's forget. I mean, Ulbricht's been in jail for over a decade. Let's not forget, this was in the Wild West days when they didn't have as much control, when they didn't understand the internet, the power of it, the way in which it interacts and allows people to communicate and interact and have transactions. So they decided Ross Ulbricht was the fall guy. He's the man that has to be made an example of, because there's no world in which 2 consecutive life sentences are handed down because you created a website where people can trade stuff. That's why we took the stand. That's why libertarians care. That's why, because it is we're seeing lawfare play out with Donald Trump right now, right? This was a perfect first volley for government, utilizing law, going after people politically for reasons that are beyond what they've actually done, because they need to make a spectacle. They want to punish someone to send a message, and that's what they did. So thank God Donald Trump came. Thank God he pledged to free Ross Ulbricht. And yes, he said day one he would free Ross Ulbricht. Well, it took a little longer than 24 hours. But by the end of, I guess, a day and a half, because, I don't know what time exactly he's sworn in, noon Eastern time. Well, he got freed around 7 p.m. Eastern yesterday. And there's a beautiful picture of him walking out of jail. He's got his little plant. It's kind of like, reminds you of the guy in Shawshank Redemption who's got his little bird, he's setting it free. You got to have a hobby in there, right? So Ross is walking out with this little plant that he's been keeping. And I don't know, to me, it looks like he had a little teary eyes. So I'm sure walking out for that first time means a hell of a lot. But Ross Ulbricht was free. Donald Trump kept his promise, and not only kept his promise, a full pardon, which is something that Angela McArdle, the chair of the Libertarian Party, had asked for on Thursday. A full pardon, not a commutation of the sentence, not time served. Full pardon, which is what he received. So for him, for Lynn Ulbricht, his mother who's fought tirelessly, congratulations. Now, let's not forget, by the way, I talked about these haters and the timing of the first 24 hours. Because you're going to see people, this was a litmus test for people out there who are libertarian in name only. They're really self-centered, narcissistic pieces of shit, right? And I can name a lot of them. Chase Oliver is one of them, perfectly honest, our presidential candidate. His reaction to this, instead of celebrating loudly, of course, is to cast blame, or not cast blame, to basically undermine the achievement. And then, even though we're already doing it, we already have plans in place to show you what a head up the ass kind of guy he is. He then says, now's the time LP National should be looking to do more to fight for justice. Yeah, we already are. We already put out a press release about it. We already have a program about Roger Ver, who is Bitcoin Jesus, who's also being politically persecuted because of his role in trying to get Bitcoin onto the next level, and the government trying to go after him for that. We're already having plans of that. We already have a volunteer group. We already have lawyers that have come on board to help us out to try to fight that fight, among others. But the haters out there, this, classic liberals caucus, as they like to call themselves, are these people that have lost control of the party and are so irrelevant that it's the only thing that matters to them. Having a little bit of control over this tiny fiefdom, right? And the fact that it's getting bigger and has influence, the fact that they can't control it, drives them insane. Absolutely insane. So instead of being happy that Ross Ulbricht was freed, you have these shitheels. When we post, he's free, we did it. The greatest achievement by the Libertarian Party, by the way, in the history of the party. Not even a question. Actual political impact, actual influence. an ongoing influence because of the relationships fostered by Angela McArdle, by the party having them at their convention, with RFK, who's getting the Health and Human Services, with Tulsi Gabbard, and with Donald Trump himself. We have influence. We can talk to these people. We actually have inroads. We have direct lines of communication. These people are out there saying, well, yeah, he's free, but it wasn't within the first 24 hours. Okay, Debbie Downer dipshit, good job. Thank you for showing your true colors. Thank you for telling us exactly who you are, which is somebody that will never celebrate a victory, ever. Because it's not your victory of irrelevance, of keeping the principles of the party intact and having little meetings where you can bang your gavel and use Robert's Rules of Order. Absolutely sad. So this is an example of the Libertarian Party achieving something great. And frankly, this is a sign of things to come. Because, as I said, we have all these different plans in place. Michael Heiss has come on board, who is the head of the Mises Caucus. He's come on board with plans to put into action different aspects, not just defend the guard, but also we've got the local Doge initiative. As I said, we've got the anti-lawfare initiative, which is working with Roger Furr. We've got the decentralize the revolution plans. And also, Michael's got interesting plans in place to utilize data and strategy to try to give libertarians a leg up in local races by targeting specifically people that are going to vote for them or sway those races. This is all happening in real time as we celebrate a massive victory lap. As the people who were telling us, well, Donald Trump's not going to keep that. You guys were used. You're morons for trying to play, for trying to collaborate, for trying to reach out and do something with somebody. You guys are fools and idiots. Screw you. And even though we've taken this victory lap, even though this is happening, even though Donald Trump specifically says, I did this for the libertarian movement, you have people saying, well, it's not, the Libertarian Party can't take credit for this. Oh, hey, Tella, good to have you here. The Libertarian Party can't take credit for this. Oh, no, this was all Thomas Massie. Well, let me play you a clip. Let me play you a little clip here because, again, these people will never allow a victory for the party. They simply won't do it. So let me play you a clip here of Thomas Massie, who some people are saying is the guy responsible for getting this done. Well, Thomas Massie is out there. Why? I love it when I try to put a video on my own feed and it doesn't show up. This happens so often and it drives me absolutely freaking bonkers that it's like, just let me show my own video, please. Great. Won't let me do it. Well, you'll have to wait a minute here because now I have to find the email. But point being, here we go. I got it. Thomas Massie was actually giving credit to the Libertarian Party for inspiring him. And Donald Trump said that Massie should, in fact, use his endorsement in a video. So let me share this right now for you guys. This is from Liam McCollum, by the way, who's a great follow and a very nice guy, good pal. Okay, here we go.
I'm thinking of a phrase in my head, make libertarians relevant again. And, a lot of times the only way libertarians are relevant in elections is to be the spoiler in a close race. Maybe they take some of the votes away like the Green Party might do to Democrats. But in this case, Angela McArdle, the chair of the Libertarian Party, decided to reach out, invited Trump to the Libertarian National Convention where he spoke and he made this pledge that he would free Ross Ulbricht. So I think that's a big deal. That contributed to this. I decided 2 weeks before the election to endorse Trump myself. And I called him up and he answered the phone. We talked a little bit and I said, well, what should my endorsement say? And he brought up Ross. Wow. To me. And so he said, you could put that in your endorsement. And I thought, well, that would be a good way to lock this in.
Yeah.
So I did. I put it in my endorsement. In the middle of my endorsement is a sentence that says, the president has committed to freeing Ross Ulbricht. And then President Trump retweeted my endorsement. It was it's not legally binding, but it really, I think, made it more solid. And I was, just based on my personal conversation with President Trump, I was certain he was going to keep his word on this. And to me, this is a litmus test, really. Are you going to convert those campaign promises into reality? Because once you get elected, it's hard to hold people accountable. Right.
there you go. So that was from Tim Cast and Thomas Massey. So there you go. There it is. It's laid out for you. It's laid out for you. So another Facebook watcher here, Lauren, she's saying that her issue is that Ron Paul movement helped remove the gangster party. Trump entered and Julian and Ross remained in a cage. They did. Trump, one of the biggest letdowns from Trump's first term was that he didn't pardon Assange and Snowden. I think that Snowden is probably going to get pardoned, if I'm being perfectly honest. I don't know what's going to happen with Assange. I certainly hope that he gets his charges dropped. Let's not forget, drop the charges. But regardless, this is an incredible point in time. It's an absolutely incredible point in time. And Donald Trump, I can't say that I'm a huge fan of executive orders, right? Because executive orders go around Congress. The president has way too much power. So Donald Trump's gone on this complete, signing spree of the executive orders. And there's some interesting ones out there, right? I mean, there's fascinating ones about, now he's put all the federal DEI workers on paid leave. I guess he just don't want to can them immediately, but these executive orders about, the gender wars, about suspending foreign aid for 90 days. Fantastic, right? Which I tweeted out on the LP account. Suspending foreign aid for 90 days, the great first step to suspending foreign aid forever. I tweeted out the thing from, What About Bob? Yeah, What About Bob? With Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss, where he's like, baby steps. I'm taking baby steps. I'm not a quitter. Yes, baby step them in, man. So while I hate these executive orders, at the same time, I have to root for most of them that Trump has been putting out here. And I agree with most of them, because the thing is, we're at the point, because we've given the president so much power, that there's essentially a war that goes on every time anybody's going to take office now. And it has to be stopped. I mean, if I was Donald Trump, I'd get these executive orders done, and then I go to Congress, like, you need to rein this shit in. But of course, I'm sure every president's like, well, I'll make all these executive orders, and I'll try to get them to change it. And of course, the Democrats won't want to do that, because they're hoping they'll get somebody else in that'll put in the executive orders that they want. But the fact that you have all these orders that Biden goes in, executive order, and then as he's leaving office, a million more executive orders, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and also his pardoning his crime family. But now, of course, Trump comes in, he's got to undo all those executive orders and put new ones in place. So it's like a never-ending cyclical executive order spree that has to stop. I mean, it flat out has to stop. All this shit should be going through Congress. None of this should be decided by a president who, with a magic pen. What was that? Obama, one of the worst presidents in history that'll go down as one of the best. It's basically saying, well, I've got a pen and a paper, and that's it. Again, this is not his exact quote, but essentially something along the lines of, I have a pen and, executive orders are all I'm going to do, because fuck everybody. So the executive orders are problematic. But like I said, at the same time, Trump is fixing a lot of what has to be fixed. And so many of the executive orders that came into being, we're now finding out, because there was an interesting interview with Speaker Johnson, who I hate, and who famously, Thomas Massey was getting attacked by everybody. I talked about this last show, for opposing Mike Johnson. And of course, who gets kicked off, or gets, I guess, steps down? Thomas Massey steps down from the Rules Committee. And as I mentioned, Mike Johnson puts a new person in there, a 81-year-old who has gotten roughly $100,000 from AIPAC. So shows you there's quite a bit of deep state going on there. Quite a bit of AIPAC influence that still holds sway in Washington, D.C. But I digress. So Donald Trump is signing all of these really interesting executive orders. Why does he have to sign so many? Well, because on the outgoing path Biden took, he was signing executive orders like crazy. And also, by the way, taking weird credit for some amendment. I'm so behind on the story, because I was out of town for 4 days in the mountains of Pennsylvania, which is also why I'm doing the show a day late. Well, and also I want to see if Ross Ulbricht was going to be freed, which he was. Biden issued some things basically saying they had signed documents on a new amendment. Doesn't make any sense. You can't just make up amendments. Just because you signed something doesn't mean it happened. It's got to go through Congress. It has to be voted on. And I think J.D. Vance was taking shots at him. But it's such a bizarre thing. Did he think in his dementia state that he'd actually proposed a new amendment that went through, ratified another amendment? Because no. And honestly, what a pathetic PR stunt to do it. You're pretending that an amendment's in there. What is this, to put pressure on the Congress to do it? I'm just going to sign it just in case you guys want to use it. Well, you're not going to be president anymore. So even if they do pass it, your signature on this pretend amendment doesn't mean shit, does it, Joe? It's just virtue signaling nonsense. It's an embarrassment. If anything, it reminds people you couldn't get anything done that you really wanted to get done, except by executive order. And Mike Johnson went on an interview, and this was, I think, just a couple days ago. And he basically said, look, I went and met with President Biden because I want to talk to this liquefied natural gas bill, which had shut down a lot of the export centers for LNG in Louisiana. And it was, obviously ruining communities that depend on this, these, entire cities that have been built up around LNG now, and, kind of like the old coal mining towns. So Biden, by executive order, shuts this down. So he's trying to get a meeting with Biden, and he says that he's been denied. Finally, he gets to sit down with Biden, apparently per Joe Biden's request, which doesn't seem like makes a lot of sense. But he sits down, he tells me, he goes, Joe, look, this natural gas executive order you did, banning this use of natural gas here, is destroying thousands of lives. You got to pull it back. Biden goes, I don't know what you're talking about. I never signed anything like that. And Johnson goes, yeah, you did. I can show it to you. I can show you the document. I'll bring you the executive order. I'll have it printed out right now that says that you did this. Joe Biden, I don't know. So it shows, like, this is happening. Here it is. You signed it. And Joe Biden goes, I never signed that. They told me it was something like a study. Yet his signature's on there. Yet it goes into legislative, application enforcement. These people get their shit shut down. And Joe Biden has no idea. So the question is, and I'm at the first question is, who is running things? Who is running the government? Because it certainly seems that it was not Joe Biden, and that which was very apparent in every appearance that he made, that he was not running the government. There's zero chance that he was doing it. So is it Pelosi? Is it Obama? Is it, Kamala? I doubt Kamala. I don't think Kamala has the intelligence to do even try to run a government behind Joe Biden's back. Who is running the government? And what's sickening to me here is not just that this is covered up, right, by the corporate press, by everybody in the Democratic Party, by the White House staff, by Secret Service. It's completely covered up that Joe Biden is completely lost his marbles, can't remember, doesn't know what's going on. But the fact that these Democrats are such pieces of shit that while he's in this state, they're essentially lying to him about what legislation is going to be passed through and what he's signing and what he's doing. Either there's two ways to look at it. Either Joe is briefed and doesn't know and doesn't remember, which is possible, right? Very possible. Or what I think is more likely is that they go behind his back, they put together legislation, they bring it to his desk, and they go, Joe, sign this. It's good for the environment. And he goes, all right, I'll sign it. Good for the environment. The environment's got to be saved. It's an existential threat. Right? One of the more idiotic statements he made on his way out. His last speech. Existential threat. So he signs these documents. And it reminds me very much of when, a rich grandfather is on his deathbed and he's got nothing going on upstairs, but all the kids, right? All the family, the giant family of kids that are under the wings of Grandpa, well, they all come in and they tell Grandpa, hey, Grandpa, good to see you. It's little Jimmy here. It's my birthday. And Grandpa goes, oh, it's your birthday, Jimmy? Okay, give me $50. There we go. All right, Jimmy. And little Jimmy fucks off. And then another kid comes in and he says, hey, Grandpa, it's my birthday. Oh, okay. And he gives him money. And then little Jimmy, who already got his birthday present, comes back again about 3 days later because Grandpa doesn't fucking remember him and doesn't know what's happening. And goes, Grandpa, it's my birthday. And Grandpa goes, oh, it's your birthday. So every day is somebody's fucking birthday. That's what we saw. That's what happened with Joe Biden and these unscrupulous, despicable Democrats. Every day was someone's birthday when you've got a dementia-riddled president or whatever he had. We don't know if it's Parkinson's, right? That's everybody's Parkinson's. Whatever was wrong with Joe Biden, which we'll probably never find out, enabled them to take advantage of this man who shouldn't have been in a position, who shouldn't have run in the first place, who shouldn't have been sitting as president because he was not in control of his faculties, let alone the White House, let alone the country. And these pieces of shit used that to go in there and just town bicycle old Joe. Everybody got a turn to take a romp with old Joe and get whatever they want because he'll sign anything. And they just took advantage of him to push through whatever pet projects, whatever insane lefty crap that they wanted to put out there, whatever eco bullshit, whatever, bailouts for Ukraine and more money for whatever it was, doesn't matter. Put it in front of Joe. Joe will sign it, and he will have no clue what's happening. And Mike Johnson, fortunately, got that meeting, so now it's laid bare. Most powerful country in the world, biggest military, by far the biggest budget, and of course, by far the biggest deficit. Just being bent over and used again and again for probably 2 years, for being honest, probably the last 2 years easily. Sickening. It's absolutely sickening. Also sickening is Karine Jean-Pierre, right? Karine Jean-Pierre is, I don't have less respect for anybody in this world, I think, than Karine Jean-Pierre. She's somebody that was so inept at her job that she was unable to answer the most basic questions. Unable to think on her feet. Impossible for her to be honest. And, it's like the one job you're supposed to be good at as a press secretary for the president is lying, right? The White House press secretary, your job is to lie. I don't mind it when people go, they're a liar. Like under Trump, they're lying. He's lying. Yeah, all presidents lie. All presidents lie. Their White House staff, their White House secretary, her job is to lie. But, Jen Psaki, as much as I completely hate her, despise her, though I would do her. She's cute. As much as I hate her, she was a very good liar. Really able to spin a web of lies, cast the dreams out there, and then bring them together, a beautiful gossamer film for people to believe the bullshit. Karine Jean-Pierre, not so much. Up there stammering, looking through her binders, unable to answer basic questions, as I said. Just a real moron. I mean, a perfect example of the worst of DEI. Because Biden wanted a black lesbian in there, right? Because he had to have, just like he had to have Kamala Harris as his vice president. Doesn't matter if you're qualified, doesn't matter if you're talented. Here you go. First gay, black, lesbian, whatever, press secretary. Female. I mean, lesbian. Kind of redundant, but you never know nowadays because, apparently men can be lesbians. So she goes up there. And there's all this stuff going on the final day. There's a peace deal, quote unquote, peace deal that was announced magically. Amazing, isn't that? In the last week when Joe Biden's about to screw off out of office. Oh, wow. Now they were able to put together a peace deal. It won't last. It's nonsense. But instead of doing that, Karine Jean-Pierre goes out there and makes it all about how she's just, amazing. I remember watching a clip of this and I retweeted it just with LOLZ, the lols. She's up there going, I just hope that I have inspired women to be like me. And I'm like, bitch, number one, you're like the 15th female press secretary. Like Donald Trump, I think, had 3 on his own, female press secretaries. Like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? What, a black chick? You got a quote unquote black vice president. Who gives a fuck about you and your White House press secretary? Who cares? Condoleezza Rice was Secretary of State. She was black. Like, who do you think you are? Nobody. You're not. You're such a bad liar. You can't even lie yourself into relevance with this diatribe. But she goes, I'm going to be such an inspiration to little girls. This is the last day. Instead of going out like a professional and doing your job well for one day is all you had to, just one day of competence. Karine Jean-Pierre goes out there and makes it about her and diddles her clit. And then, bye everybody. Don't forget me. Your heart will go on. Oh, by the way, speaking of the heart will go on thing, I just want to say this about this Elon Musk Nazi salute thing, which shows you how completely disingenuous corporate media is. He literally went, grabbed his heart and then, throwing his heart out to the crowd. If you watch the whole video, he's like, my heart goes out to you or something like that. You have my heart. Clearly not a Nazi symbol. Look, did the guy think it through to leave it out there in the way? Okay, maybe not. But at the same time, there's a great video compilation of all the Democrats doing the exact same thing. If you clip anything right, it looks like a Nazi salute, folks. AOC is out there doing it. There's a fantastic video that Musk himself shared of AOC doing the exact same gesture, ending in the exact same way. When you're talking, you're like, oh, my heart. Then you put your hand out to the right and you're leaning forward. It's going to look like a Nazi salute. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. So just that whole thing was insultingly stupid. Now, moving past Karine Jean-Pierre, and then I gotta jump off fairly soon because I have to do a bit of real biz. Let's just talk real quick about Joe Biden and these pardons, because Joe Biden pardoned Fauci, and magically this pardon goes all the way back to the gain of function research part, which tells you a lot of things. Right, it goes all the way back to 2014. Or I'm sorry, and also for his crime family people goes back. So not only for Fauci does it cover the gain of function research time, but also for the Joe Biden crime family, it goes back far enough to cover Hunter Biden. We saw with that pardon, and his whole family, you know, all the Bidens, all his wife, all his brothers, all pardoned. So with Fauci, this is obviously saying that, yeah, Fauci is guilty. I mean, there's no other way to look at it. Fauci's guilty of completely lying to America, of cover-ups, of intimidation, of, you know, getting in the way of actual science, of doctoring scientific materials. There's no world in which this man should not be in prison. And let's not forget, it's not just the amount of damage that he did through the lies, through the fraud. It's also the fact that he benefited financially so much from the vaccines, from the vaccine technology, from patents that he has, from kickbacks from the World Health Organization, or no, sorry, the National Institute of Health. And of course, he was also getting paid something like $500,000 a year. For Joe Biden to go out of his way and pardon him is another act of, and here's the thing. I can see Joe Biden doing that because Joe Biden, for his legacy, has to protect that COVID was this massive thing that he helped overcome, you know, even though he didn't. Spoiler, narrator, he didn't. Nothing that we did helped overcome COVID. The vaccines certainly didn't. The money that we spent certainly didn't. Shutting down the economy destroyed everything, and then they printed tons of money to get people to stay at home, and then that, of course, had effects later on where nobody went back to work when they needed to have people come back because they had money sitting around on their asses. And you could work from home, and there was an entire cottage industry built around COVID. Billionaires were created. Money was transferred from the middle class to and the lower class, likely, to the ultra rich and to mega companies like Amazon and Target and Walmart. And in the meantime, Anthony Fauci sits around telling everybody that we have to do this. Joe Biden, of course, now has to protect that legacy. It's like the bad people theory I talk about. When you go along with this for so long, and then it turns out that you're completely wrong and a buffoon, and everybody that was censored and that the Biden administration told and threatened Mark Zuckerberg and demanded people could take down their shit. And it was very telling, by the way, that Mark Zuckerberg said that the instant he fought back and tried to resist the censorship, his company started getting investigated. Amazing how that happens. Just like Joe Biden trying to go after Elon Musk's companies. And yes, people are saying, well, Donald Trump, you know, Elon Musk he's made so many billions of dollars in the last year because of the regulatory environment. Like just since Donald Trump took office, he's worth $2 billion more. Yeah, no shit. When you have an administration come in that isn't politically going after all of your entities like the Biden administration was, because you don't want to play ball and censor America for them, well, it's going to increase your wealth, isn't it? Yeah, amazing how that works. Once you take the shackles off of business and allow them to operate, they tend to make more money. So Biden pardoning Fauci, though, this is an effort to, number one, I think, stymie investigation, right? Because if you pardon Fauci, now there's no point of an in-depth investigation to uncover all the corruption, the added benefits, the added kickbacks, everything that they knew, everything that Biden knew. Hopefully we'll still get it. I know Rand Paul still wants to go after it, but I think that that's part of it. But at the same time, I don't know if Biden even signed it, knowing what it was. I don't know if he had any idea. I'm sure he knew for his family, but who knows? They might have put a Fauci in the middle of the Biden stack and he just signs it thinking he's like, oh, Anthony Biden. I forgot that my uncle's middle name, my uncle's maiden name was Fauci. Amazing. Sign it up, Joe. Rubber stamp that shit. So he goes through and he gives Fauci the pardon, which is basically just admitting that Fauci is completely corrupt and complicit in criminal acts. But then on top of it, and this really pisses me off, I can understand pardoning Hunter, even though he said he wouldn't, but we know Joe Biden's not a scrupulous person or a moral person. He's a fucking liar and a charlatan. To pardon all of his brothers and uncles, and well, not his uncles are dead, but all of his brothers, that really sticks in my craw. Because we were told that, again, by the left corporate press, that there's no corruption here, that Biden wasn't giving his brothers any kickbacks or any benefits or helping negotiate, and there was no Biden family corruption going on here to utilize his influence as vice president or president. Well, the documents started to leak out, showing that, in fact, yes, there was. There was a lot of overlap, to put it as kind as I can, between Joe Biden, the interests of the brothers of Joe Biden, and of course Hunter Biden, in international affairs. And that there was a lot of money being moved around for no real benefit people could see to certain people and companies abroad, and really nobody could figure out what these people were really doing. The fact that Joe Biden pardoned every brother, again, is a flat-out admission of guilt. That if this was ever to be honestly investigated, which of course Joe Biden would never have allowed under the DOJ during his administration, well, Trump obviously could have looked into that. Now, I don't think he would have, if I'm being perfectly honest. Donald Trump didn't throw Hillary Clinton in jail when he should have and could have. What's amazing is that I do think Donald Trump became president the first time out of vindictiveness. Or like when you remember when Obama at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, Obama and Trump are kind of going at it. And he's like, they make fun of Trump, and he's like, "Fuck you, I'm going to become president." I think that's literally why he became president the first time. But yet, I don't think he is a vindictive person in that way, and I don't think he would have gone after Joe Biden's family. But Joe can't take that risk. And it might simply have been that Donald Trump would say, "Hands off, DOJ, do what you're going to do." And the DOJ would go, "No, we've been sitting on a treasure trove of evidence for 4 years about this Biden crime family, the Dementia syndicate, and we're going to go after him." And I think that obviously, where there's smoke, there's fire. There's a lot of smoke, and this is very clearly Joe Biden extinguishing that smoke and that fire. But without a doubt, there was massive corruption behind the scenes there. And Joe Biden should go down as one of the worst presidents in history. He should go down as a corrupt piece of shit. He should go down as a man who put pride before country, and everything behind him, right? Remember they told us that it didn't matter that Joe Biden was in there even if he had dementia because of the state apparatus behind him. Well, the state apparatus should have a position, right? When we talk about our presidents, we talk about, the order 47th president, 48th president, whatever. Well, there should be an extra president marker in there. There should be like an asterisk president 2 years into Joe Biden's term that says, state apparatus of the United States or something like that. That's our president. That's been our president for the last 2 years, everybody. Put him on the $2 bill. How great would that be? Or, of course, the joke is the $3 bill doesn't exist. Put him on the $3 bill. I want to see the administrative state on the $3 bill. It could just be like a picture of like a bunch of rats in like a cubicle. How about that? Rats chewing the wiring, stealing money like Ratatouille. That's what it was. That's the fucking movie. Oh, God. I got to do it. That's what I'm going to make on AI. I'll see if Grok can make it. I got to find some AI that does animation. That's what we need, folks. We need a Ratatouille with Nancy Pelosi on top of Joe Biden's head, her little fucking rat face, but her shockingly big boobs still. Her little rat face on top of Joe Biden, pulling him by the hair, leading him around. It'd be fantastic. Biden Tatooine? Is that a good name for it? Joe Tatooine? We'll figure it out. We'll workshop it. All right, I got to go, guys. If you like what we do here at Lions of Liberty, please do support the show. Patreon.com/Lions of Liberty. And thanks for Taylor. Just joined up. Saw that. Thank you, buddy. Patreon.com/Lions of Liberty. We are planning a new Secrets, Lies, and Cover-Up show. And yes, I am getting around to Do Nothing Man. I know I've been promising it. My Libertarian superhero. I finally am going to have time. The side project I'm going to announce very soon is now finishing The product is going off to China to be printed. I'm very excited to talk about it, but I'm going to wait until I actually have a sample in hand and we can actually start selling this thing. But that's off my plate, so I've got a little bit more time now, thank God. But Do Nothing Man's coming. Secrets, Lies, and Cover-Ups is coming. We're going to talk about Justin Trudeau, whether or not he is or is not the son of Fidel Castro, get into that fun topic, and much more. So check that out, guys. You can also join at Locals, lionsofliberty.locals.com. And don't forget, just a reminder, Crowd Health is a longtime sponsor of our show. They have been with us for years now. If you want a better alternative for health insurance, try Crowd Health. It's a voluntary-based system. You can get in for $99 a month by going to joincrowdhealth.com. Use promo code LIONS. It's amazing. Direct conduit through your doctors with people in your community that'll like you, paying for each other, helping each other out. Great company. Check them out. All right, guys. Thank you. For me, Brian McWilliams, from Ross motherfucking Ulbricht, walking free from the Lions of Liberty, and from Mean Age Daydream, guys. Keep those electric eyes on me, babe. Keep that ray gun to my head. Talk to you later.